Hi, welcome to another episode of Mom Does It All. I'm Marta Spurk, your host, triplet mom, health coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. In this episode, I want to talk about the dreaded mom guilt. We all feel it, it's always there, but should it? Lately, I've noticed it's become a cute, funny expression on social media, hashtag mom guilt. But at the end of the day, it's not cute at all. What do you think? Let's dive in. After my interview with my sister last week, I just kept thinking about how I didn't even realize she'd started her own business when her baby was 3 months old, especially as a first-time mom. That made me feel so proud because I totally didn't remember that. I mean, can you blame me? Triplet mom brain, right? And it got me thinking about how us moms really have the need to do something else outside of motherhood to recover, or I guess maybe find a new identity postpartum. And maybe some of us might not feel this need, maybe because you already have a full-time job, although I know several moms of multiples that work full-time and still find time for volunteering, for their hobbies. And it kind of boils down to helping others. We still find time, to do something to help others or even to help ourselves. We just naturally have this nurturing side of us, I guess. But most of us do feel this need. And usually the reason why we don't do it, or we don't do it as often as we would like, comes back to the dreaded mom guilt. And I've been thinking about how to even define that. And I guess, it's pretty broad. It encompasses many things, but it boils down to us worrying too much about people's opinions, about people's perceptions of who we are as a mom, and not trusting that we're doing a good enough job on our own. It's kind of like we need that approval from other people. And sometimes it's not even like a spoken approval. It really is all in our heads. And it really goes back to that loss of identity. You kind of find yourself through people's opinions and perceptions. And sometimes that is even twisted because it's our perception of what their perception of us is. Pretty crazy. And let me know if this resonates with you. I would love to hear back from you on this. I'm kind of like thinking out loud here. Usually we don't go after these things because we really don't feel like we deserve it, or maybe we feel shame for even having a desire to do something outside of motherhood. And thinking that, making ourselves smaller will mean that my kids are doing better or that my family's happier, but it could be at the cost of your own happiness. That's what I've been finding. And this is all things that I have been feeling ever since I decided to start my own business. I wanted to do it and I felt like I needed it, but in the back of my mind, I was afraid that it would be taking time and my attention off my kids. But at the same time, I thought, I need this so that I can be more present for them. I need something outside of this, especially being a stay-at-home mom. But I did get some resistance from family and friends thinking that it was too much on my plate. And it wasn't super unspoken. I feel like half of it was my own concern and fear. And the other part was somewhat because of comments and things that I kind of interpreted that way. But I realized that when you're drowning in someone else's opinion, you're really not doing anyone a favor, right? Sometimes we feel mom guilt and think that by feeling that, it will mean we're going to be a better mom. But at the end of the day, feeling this guilt only makes things worse, if that makes sense. While building a business is not something easy for you to take on when you're trying to figure out mom life, I have come to realize that whether it is starting a business or following some other dream that you might have, we can't wait until we feel ready or until our kids are older, because anything that we start takes time. There's so much to learn, and you can do it at your own pace. It doesn't mean that you are going to abandon your family and your kids to do something, because that's kind of like the fear that we have. And really, the fear that people will think that that's what we're. It really isn't that you're doing that. You're just worried that people are going to think that you're doing that. And so you end up denying yourself the right to do certain things. When in reality, even thinking back to the episode that I did previously about there is no right and wrong. You're the one that's deciding it. And for some reason, we feel like there is a right and wrong out there, and people are judging and looking at us. And ever since becoming a mom, the whole judgment concept has changed in my head, because I realized everyone's different. Everyone leads different lives. So this whole judgment of she's doing better than I am or she's doing worse than I am is extremely relative and really a waste of time. And I don't know if this is something that happens with singleton moms as well, but I talked about this before, that I realized during my pregnancy and even afterwards that I could take it one of two ways. Either be extremely worried that, triplet life is hard, being a mom is hard, or decide that I was going to take it to a positive way and take on the challenge. And this has helped me see that being a mom does not mean that I can't have dreams, or that I have to wait until they're a certain age to go after my dreams or find out who I really am. I realize that they are my paths into finding who I really am. That now I have absolutely no excuses. I need to find my talents. I need to find my purpose in this world, because me doing that, they depend on me doing that so that they can go on and find their path and who they really are. I need to know who I really am so that they have a greater chance of finding out who they really are and what they're really meant to do in this world. And that's how I know that starting my own business or getting into coaching has helped me with that. That even though it might seem like I am taking away time from my kids, I'm not. I'm actually becoming a better person myself. And that in turn will help them find their path easier, or look at me as a role model and see my mom did that, so I can do it as well. So really, I could end this right here to say, don't worry so much about what others think of you. Trust your instinct and your gut as a mom, and go follow your dreams, go follow your desires, obviously with common sense. But I also wanted to get into a little bit more of my story and everything that I've been doing as a mompreneur. So I started coaching, like I'd mentioned before, because it had everything to do with fitness and nutrition, and I've always struggled with my weight my entire life. So it came at a perfect time. I kind of have dabbled with entrepreneurship when I used to be a private tutor for English, Portuguese, and French. So I used to go to students' houses, or they would come to my house. I used to use different books. Sometimes I would come up with my own materials, but I would, had to establish my own rates and everything like that. And now I find myself going back into that, but in a completely different field, although it is kind of related with the whole motivation and teaching things. And at first it was all of that. I wanted the accountability and I just wanted to make money. And now I see myself getting into this creative side of it. Almost feels like I'm in school back again, because obviously I'm learning so much, but I'm creating little assignments for myself of things that I have to do and things that I have to create. And it really helps me with being organized in life, because I have to be organized with the things that I'm doing with the business. Everything just comes together that I have to organize my time with my kids, and with everything that I'm doing, organize the thoughts into my head. So I really think that it has been beneficial to me past making money, or even what I was looking for in terms of fitness and nutrition and being healthy. It really is bringing mental health to me, and all these, organization and time management, things that you might not think are going to be added to your life once you start this new endeavor that you've been thinking about starting, it'll happen. So there's so many other positive things that can come from you investing in yourself, you taking the time to go after something that you've been wanting to do, especially if it involves learning something new. It can only, make you a more fulfilled and fuller person by adding on this knowledge and creating connections with other people. I feel like sometimes we think that being a mom means we need to be isolated and that, our lives is just going to be 100% dedicated to our kids. But on the same hand, that cannot be healthy for them either. It's not healthy for you, which means you're going to be passing on that energy to them, and then that's not going to be healthy for them either. It might even create some expectations in terms of what you think your kids should be once they start growing and going to school and having, relationships with other people. So I have been finding that this is creating a lot more health in so many aspects for myself, because it really is kind of therapeutic. It's cathartic when I'm sharing my experience with other moms, hearing their experience. And that's because I really love this field. Maybe you have something else that you're working on, and that is also adding very beneficial things that are helping your mental health. And sometimes we deny ourselves all of that just by getting caught up on what others think of us, or thinking that by you following your dream, your desire, it's going to take away from you being the best mom that you can be. When in reality, I have found that it's quite the opposite. So when, starting my business, and sometimes when I meet moms that I've only talked to online and then we finally meet in person, they're like, oh, it's you, finally I get to see you. Or they say, oh, you're famous and all of that. People admire me for the work that I do, but I have to tell you that there are other people that think I'm crazy. There are other people out there that think I'm not the best mom that I can be, just because when my kids are napping, instead of cleaning the house or, I don't know, working on what moms are supposed to be doing, quote unquote, I'm here recording this episode. So what am I going to follow? I'm going to follow what I think feels right for me and that I know is benefiting other people. Or what am I going to get caught up on what someone's thinking about me? I have decided to do this instead, even though it is hard. And sometimes I do get stressed out thinking that, others don't think I'm doing that great of a job. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I even had some conflicts with my husband because everyone has their own ideas and concepts. And I've shared this before. We ultimately are from different cultures, so our thoughts sometimes clash. He has a completely different personality than I do. We are pretty much extreme opposites. So obviously we clashed there too. But he was super supportive when I first started this. There was a point when he felt like I was getting extremely stressed out, and we actually, had to have several conversations about where I was going with this and all of that. And then recently, me changing the focus on starting a podcast and doing all of this has been feeling a lot more comfortable for me, because this is where my zone of genius is. This is what I'm really good at. It's just